Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be reacting to some serial killers artwork. Although if I'm being honest, more than reacting, I'm just telling you about the serial killers and then reacting for a little bit because I don't know, that's how I scripted this for some reason. I posted a poll on both Instagram and Twitter, and this was the video that got the most votes. But the other two also got a fair share of votes, so I'm probably going to be doing those since it's October and I wanted to do some creepier videos. And by creepier, I mean just kind of Halloween themed, because they're really not that creepy. And not that the artwork on this video reflects that at all. Like, what is this? Like a pastel drawing? I don't even remember what speed paint this is. Anyways, I'm gonna do a little Wikipedia summary of who these serial killers were before each painting, since I think who they were might reflect or contribute to the art they made. So in case you don't know who someone I'm mentioning is, I'll do that. As always, all my sources are linked in the description. Now let's start with Arthur Shawcross. According to Wikipedia, Arthur Shawcross, also known as the Genesee River Killer, was an American serial killer active in Rochester, New York. His first known murders were in 1972 when he killed a young boy and a girl in his hometown of Watertown, New York. Under the terms of a plea bargain, Shawcross was allowed to plead guilty to one charge of manslaughter, for which he served 14 years of a 25-year sentence. He killed most of his victims in 1988 and 1989 after being paroled early, which led to criticism of the justice system. A food service worker, Shawcross strolled the streets of Rochester in his girlfriend's 1984 sky blue Dodge Omni, looking for sex workers to abduct. He died in Albany, New York in 2008 while serving a prison sentence of 250 years for his crimes. As far as I know, his work was all done while in prison, but here's a sketch he did of Princess Diana. Now, thankfully, I don't feel bad being overcritical of any of these because they were all serial killers, but this is like a drawing of when you're just learning how to draw faces. That's kind of how I see it. You know, when you find this like really amazing, like realistic or semi-realistic artist on Instagram, and then they post like a then and now post, and it's like me at 15 and me now, and their 15-year-old drawing is like them just learning how to draw, and it looks like this. Am I the only one who has had that experience? Because that's exactly what this reminded me of. It's not that bad, but like, it's not good either. I mean, there's nothing wrong with this. Like, there's nothing wrong with this kind of style. Because I know, the thing is, I feel like this kind of face I see a lot on young artists or people who are just learning how to draw. And there's nothing wrong with it. But I just had to say it because that's what it reminded me of. I mean, I'm reacting. But hey, it sold for more than $500, which is more money than I've ever made for anything in my life. So, of course, I'm not a serial killer, so I don't have fucked up people buying my sketches, and I'm okay with that. Apparently, in the 1990s, he opened a business of selling drawings and painting, and I just want to read how this site was promoted because it's pretty gross. Shawcross is more famous for other things he can do with his hand than his artwork, such as strangling and partially consuming 11 prostitutes, which really makes this weird piece of prison art something the high bidder will treasure forever. What the fuck? It's just, that's a lot. Let's move on. Henry Lee Lucas. Now, according to Wikipedia, Henry Lee Lucas was an American convicted serial killer whose crimes spanned from 1960 to 1983. He was convicted of murdering 11 people and condemned them to death for the murder of Deborah Jackson, although his sentence was commuted to life in prison in 1998. Lucas rose to infamy after confessing to more than 100 murders to the Texas Rangers and other law enforcement officials while in prison. I watched the Netflix documentary on Henry Lee Lucas. He's a nasty person. I can't look at his face. He's just a lot. But I think this art was done in person, but I'm not 100% sure, so brace yourself for this nightmare fuel. Yeah, creepy drawings, that's for sure. Is it offensive to say that the first one kind of looks like him? Actually, they both kind of look like him. That clown one is creepy, but I think clowns are creepy in general, so I think that could be a normal looking clown, and I would still be like, yikes. But yeah, I don't know much about them, because I couldn't find a lot of information about them. I couldn't find a lot of information about all of this artwork in general. It's just like it's there and people are selling it first, but there's not like a lot of information about them or when they made them or like what they mean. Did see a lot of sites claiming to help to sell his work. I mean, all of these, I found most of them like for sale, but I'm pretty sure some of them are not original. Unless some of them made like a million copies of the same work, which I don't think it's a thing. I think people just sell prints of them because they know there's like a messed up market for serial killer art out there, because there's messed up people out there. There was one I found that it was like a vampire with a bloody mouth that I thought was interesting, but one, I don't think YouTube will like it, and two, I'm not 100% sure he made it. It was being sold on Etsy. There is another one that I found that I think might be legit, that is a tamer version of that one, but this one is kind of meh, which is why I can't believe the Etsy one is made by him, because the Etsy one actually has like some interesting like lines and shading, but while this one is just like you know, just Charles Manson. So according to Wikipedia, Charles Miles Manson was an American criminal and cult leader. In mid-1967, he formed what became known as the Manson family, a quasi-commune based in California. His followers committed a series of 9 murders at 4 locations in July and August 1969. Although the motive of the murder was disputed by Manson, the Los Angeles County District Attorney believed that Manson intended to start a race war. In 1971, he was convicted of first-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder for the death of 7 people, including the film actress Sharon Tate. The prosecution contended that while Manson never directly ordered the murders, his ideology constituted an overt act of conspiracy. Manson was also convicted of first-degree murder for the death of Gary Hinman and Donald Shea. Before the murders, Manson had spent more than half of his life in correctional institutions. When he began gathering his cult following, he was a singer-songwriter on the fringe of the Los Angeles music industry, chiefly through a chance association with Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, who introduced Manson to record producer Terry Melcher. In 1968, the Beach Boys recorded Manson's song Cease to Exist, retitled Never Learn Not to Love, on the B-side on one of their singles, but without credit to Manson, thank God. Wilson and Melcher served ties with Manson around the early 1969, thank God. The Los Angeles District Attorney said that Manson was obsessed with the Beatles, particularly their 1968 self-titled album. Manson had claimed to be guided by his interpretations of the Beatles' lyrics and adopted the term helter-skelter to describe an impending apocalypse race war. At trial, the prosecution submitted that Manson and his followers believed that the murders would help precipitate the war. Other contemporary interviews and those who testified during Manson's trial insisted that the Tate Lab Yonka murders were copycat crimes designed to exonerate Manson's friend Bobby Wousole. So the only reason I'm saying all of this is because, I thought Charles Manson was kind of a musician. So I was like, maybe his artwork is interesting. He wrote songs, so maybe his artwork was interesting. And I think most of us know about his music, but have you seen his art? Because, well, here it is. And here's what I can only describe as a horrible doodle. I mean, honestly, now looking at it, this is exactly the kind of artwork I would expect from Charles Manson. Mediocre in music, terrible at art. Good. Here's another one with a bird, which is the only good thing about it. This looks like if I were to give my 3-year-old nephew a coloring page just with the bird and the little circle and that, and I was like, you do you, Juanmi. That's the quality I expect from him. I feel like someone qualified would say you could see the anger in his lines or something like that. But who knows? I just think it's ugly. Do you think it's ugly? Because I think it's ugly. Let's move on to John Wayne Gacy. John Wayne Gacy was an American serial killer and sex offender known as the Killer Clown, who assaulted and murdered at least 33 young men and boys. Gacy regularly performed at children's hospitals and charitable events as Pogo the Clown or Patches the Clown. He was also active in his local community as a Democratic Party precinct captain and building contractor. Typically, he would lure a victim to his home, dupe him into donning handcuffs on the pretext of demonstrating a magic trick, then rape and torture his captive before killing by either asphyxiation or strangulation with a garrote. 26 victims were buried in the crawl space of his home, and 3 others were buried elsewhere on his property. 4 were discarded in the Des Plaines River. So, I think y'all not gonna find this surprising, but John Wayne Gacy painted clowns. And I hate them. Hate all of them. Oh my god. Like, look at that. What is that? And that's a self-portrait too, because it says I'm Pogo the Clown and he was Pogo the Clown. Or maybe this is what Pogo the Clown looked in his mind palace. I don't know, but it's ugly. And it looks like him, so. My favorite part, though, is that sausage link hands. Like, look at those. Those look like sausages. Great hand there. Better than most hands I draw, if I'm being honest. What I hate the most about it, though, is everything, but also, look, what is that? A pom-pom? Balloon? But it kind of looks like blood, and it's disturbing me. I'm getting conflicting info, but apparently this is estimated to be 1,000 to 2,000 US dollars. And I'm here like, why would you ever want to buy this? It's so ugly and probably cursed. Okay, and finally we have Danny Rolling. Daniel Harold Rolling, also known as the Gainesville Ripper, was an American serial killer who murdered 5 students in Gainesville, Florida, over 4 days in late August 1990. Rolling later confessed to raping several of his victims, committing a triple homicide in Shreveport, Louisiana, and attempting to murder his father in May 1990. In total, Rolling confessed to killing 8 people. Rolling was sentenced to death for the 5 Gainesville murders in 1994. He was executed by lethal injection in 2006. I left him last because I found his art the most interesting out of everyone else. They're very creepy ink drawings, but there's something about them that makes it hard for me to stop looking at them. It's probably the detail on them, the amount of characters. Feels like every time I look at them, I see a new face or a hidden detail I didn't notice before. From the ones I'm talking about today and the ones I saw in general, because there's way more than the ones I'm talking about. He's the only one who seems to have technique and style, and I think that would be pretty cool if they didn't come out from such a horrible person that deserves nothing. In case you didn't know, Danny Rolling inspired the movie Scream, which is one of my favorite slasher movies, and while the whole end result doesn't reflect a lot on his killings, I thought it was worth the mention as a not so fun fact. I can also see that he's not as well known just by the price of his work I found online. I think the highest price I saw was like around $600, which compared to the others is very low. That's how you can see that art skill has nothing to do with how well these people do art. This is someone I can consider was sort of skilled, and his work sells for nothing compared to the abomination that is John Wayne Gacy's horrible clown painting. I could go on a whole rant of how terrible it is that people idolize these guys to the point that they would spend so much on their frankly very mediocre work. But let's leave that for another day because it's already been a long time here. So yeah, that's what I have today. There's way more serial killers who did art out there, so I can totally do a part 2 if anyone wants. I also want to mention that these guys have way more artwork out there. I was just reacting to their most popular ones, but if you want to go and look at others, that's fine. They're not that good, honestly, but if you're curious, they're out there. Just letting you know. I'll see you next time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Please leave a like and subscribe if you did, and tell me what do you think about some of these pieces. Which one was the least bad one for you? And thanks for watching, and thanks to my patrons for supporting me, and I'll see you next time. Bye.